HarperCollins presents Frontline, How to Save Lives in War, Disaster and Disease, written and read by Dr. Tony Redmond. Preface. I am the youngest son and the next to youngest child of 6 offspring born to Liverpool Irish Catholic parents, transplanted by the fickleness of love and war to the small Methodist Lancashire mill town of Failsworth. I was born in Manchester itself, in Beechmount Maternity Home. From the grinding poverty of his Everton home, my father had sailed as a young man to South America to train as a priest in a contemplative order. On dark winter nights he would tell me tales of gauchos, creeping on their haunches in the stillness of the pampas at night, to silently listen outside the mud huts of isolated haciendas. When they heard the steady breathing of sleep, they would slide their long knives through the soft mud wall and into their unknowing victim. If ever I were to find myself travelling alone on the pampas, he told me, I could kill a sheep and eat it. There were so many it was no crime. However, I must first skin the sheep and leave the fleece over a fence. It was valuable. Taking it would be stealing. My knowledge of what to do when travelling alone on the Argentine pampas fortified me for the rigours of life growing up on the edge of Manchester in the 1950s and 60s. My father could bring the smell of oxen roasting over an open fire into the ice-cold winter of our small house, where we sat huddled around the only fire. The house had no central heating, baths were limited to once a week, and even then we often had to share the water. Being at the younger end of a large family is no fun when the order of entry into the rapidly cooling and increasingly grimy bathwater is determined by age, I can tell you. My father hated the English winters. His job involved mostly outdoor industrial work. To survive, he took himself off and back to his youth in the sun and space of the Argentine. If I was patient and lucky, I could catch him in a mood where I could tease this out from his memory and into the world around me. I asked him once why he left the religious order and did not proceed to being a priest. He surprised me by saying that it was too easy, too soft. He had joined to give of himself, to make a sacrifice for the good of others, and all he did was get fat, for the one and only time in his life. When he told the abbot he was put in a monk's cell to think over his decision, alone and in silence. When dawn came and he confirmed that he was still of the same mind, he was given back the battered small suitcase he had hauled from home, removed his monk's habit, and redressed in his secular clothes. It was when he had difficulty fastening his trousers, and the belt had to be let out several notches, that he knew he had made the right decision. He had been brought up in poverty, one of 9 children, with sacking nailed over the windows where glass should be, his itinerant father somewhere overseas, and the family just surviving, his mother taking in both washing and lodgers. He told me with such deep conviction how those who talked of the nobility of poverty can never have experienced it for themselves. There was nothing noble about poverty. It was degrading, wearing and dehumanizing. The monks were playing at poverty, he said, when he'd known the real thing. All my experience of humanitarian emergencies shows me the same, that at the root of a person's, a country's vulnerability lies their poverty, a poverty that imprisons them and robs them of even basic chances, including the chance to live. And people do not wish to be poor. They may equally not wish to be rich, but they never wish to be poor. People are kept in poverty by those of us who ignore or profit from their plight. My father worked all his life to provide for his large family and took little, if anything, for himself. He never owned a car or opened a bank account. He had 1 pair of shoes at a time, splattered like a Jackson Pollock from his work, but painted black when the priest visited. He was buried in his only suit, bought at great expense 6 months earlier for my graduation as a doctor. My mother was working for Littlewood's football pools when they met. She had always wanted to be a nurse, but had to leave grammar school early when her father died, and she
Sample complete. Ready to continue?